going on, good people? I am the one man gang. That's my right hand man.
I'm the Vanilla Gorilla, aka Killer Cam, aka Little Cam Henry.
And we are the Gorilla Gang 3421 podcast. Before we get started, first I'd like to say if you like what we're doing, if you've been tuning in, please click the like button, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, watch the videos over and over.
Currently, we're sitting at about 43, 44 subscribers. We're trying to get that to at least 150. We are doing a giveaway. Once we hit 150, we're going to give away a $50 gift card. Use it for gas, use it for whatever you want. Valentine's Day is coming up. But at 150 subscribers, we're going to give away a gift card and probably do something along the lines of some type of giveaway every 100 subscribers.
Well, you forgot to tell the people they can use it on us too.
Yeah.
They don't have to. You don't have to be selfish. You can go ahead and use. We need some love too. One thing I wanted to do, as a lot of you might have seen, who ever turned into social media today or turned on the TV.
Anything, anywhere.
Yeah, we wanted to say rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. That's a tragedy, losing him and himself. There's rumors that his daughters might have been on that helicopter with him as well. So, our hearts go out to his wife. Our condolences.
The rest of his family.
And him, his wife, the rest of his family. We want to give our condolences. I can't imagine what his wife might be going through right now. So definitely want to give a rest in peace to Kobe. And like I said, condolences to his family.
And I'm former basketball player, and I think my era was a little bit before Kobe's. I was never a Kobe Bryant basketball fan, but he had his daughter was on the at least one of his daughters is confirmed to be on that, and I have two daughters, so that definitely hits that empathy button. Kobe Bryant was around our age. I think he's 4 years younger than me, probably close to your age.
Yeah, he's the same age as me. I don't know where we are month-wise.
Right. So I feel for the basketball players that he played with. Shaq, of course. A lot of those guys. He was definitely becoming like a global. I think they've shown that he was contributing to Major League Soccer, all types of stuff. So, while you don't have to be a fan of Kobe Bryant, you definitely can be empathetic towards that loss. Just Kobe Bryant, his daughter. They just did the press conference, and there was 8 other people besides Kobe Bryant on that flight, which take away the pilot, leave 7, and we don't know their identities. We do know that Kobe and at least his daughter were on there, so that's definitely a tough thing.
One other thing I'd like to say too is a lot of times when a famous person passes away, they tend to focus on a famous person and other people go by the wayside. Please understand that, other than Kobe, like he said, there's 8 other people and they are just as important. It just happened that Kobe was a famous one.
Well, I think so I've been watching the news coverage. I know you said you've been staying away from it. I'm big on watching, news coverages, and they've been really, I'll say they've been really good about making sure that the other people involved have not, gone forgotten.
Right.
Obviously, Kobe and his daughter are the, not the bigger story, but the story that we'll all react to more, but they've been really good in all the news coverage, and I've been watching NBA TV, I've been watching CNN, MSNBC, and they've been really good about making sure that the other people involved in that were not just gone by the wayside just because Kobe and his daughter were the celebrities, so everything else wasn't important. So you got to applaud the news for at least keeping them involved.
Definitely, because it usually turns out where they kind of forget about everybody else. Real quick before we switch gears, I want to give a shout out to Joe Williams. Joe Williams, it's been a long time. Congratulations on your your new son. I know it's not as new now, but congratulations, and we got to get up when we get a chance.
Non-inventory for life.
Right.
So, news aside, I will say I'm wearing a different hat today. Got my Fargo Superman hat on. Even though today's not a comic book per se, it's topic day.
Right.
But today's topic is 80s movies and favorite 80s movies and 80s movies that had an impact on you, or all that type of stuff. And as always, whether you're watching this on live, whether you're watching this on the podcast once we upload it, welcome your comments. Obviously, if you had a favorite 80s movie, if you had an 80s movie that had an impact, or something that you remember, make sure you're liking and commenting, letting us know. Also, kind of as the podcast grows and evolves, we're getting more input, so we're saying, hey, give us a topic you'd like us to discuss or talk about, and that can be something that we do in the future. So definitely like, comment, let us know if there's a topic that
we definitely want to keep it interactive. That's fun for us, seeing comments or questions coming up or whatever, and getting a chance to respond to those. That's fun for us as well. So we definitely want to keep it interactive. Please, at any time, say anything that you want to get off your chest, or anything like he said you want to see brought up, or any questions. Please, by all means. So
favorite 80s movies. As a general rule, we let you go first. So we're gonna keep with that, and Mark.
Well, as far as 80s movies, it was hard for me to pick one. I narrowed it down to 4, and these still aren't necessarily
in order.
Yeah, or even my favorite of all time. It's just the 4 that I could come up with, with as much time as I had to come up with it. So the first movie I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to get probably the cheesier one off of the chest first. But you got to remember that these were movies when I was a young boy.
Around the 10 to teenage years.
Yeah, even a little younger than that. One of my favorite movies coming up was Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. It was actually Tim Burton's first full-length directorial debut. I believe he did a version of Frankenweenie, which became a movie years later. He did a short version of that. So he wasn't new to directing per se, but this was his first directorial debut. Full-length debut, excuse me. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, if you didn't see it, which I'm pretty sure if anybody's of that age has seen it. And it spawned the TV show later on, Pee-wee's Playhouse. Actually, before we get in the movie, one thing I want to say, a lot of people don't realize that Pee Wee Herman actually got his start with Cheech and Chong. And I'm not saying that's his start, but that's when he became... Paul Rubin, excuse me. That's when he first started to become visible, if you will. So I believe he was in Cheech and Chong's next movie, which is absolutely my favorite Cheech and Chong movie, and he was in Nice Dreams, if I'm not mistaken. He was a.
I have never. I will say this. I have never seen a Cheech and Chong movie in my life.
Cheech and Chong's next movie. Cheech and Chong's next movie is the funniest one.
It's never been anything that I had any type of interest. I've seen pieces of them, but. Never have watched.
I'm going to get a hold of the next movie. We're going to watch it together. All right? And then we can talk about it later. He was in Nice Dreams as well. He was a insane asylum patient. I actually think he kind of tricked Chong into getting into the insane asylum, if I'm not mistaken. And Pee Wee Herman had little stand-up HBO specials he did. I wouldn't call it stand-up.
Did he do them as Pee Wee Herman? Or was
he did as Pee Wee Herman. Okay. Actually, a lot of stuff in the Playhouse was on stage.
Gotcha.
So when Pee Wee's Playhouse came out, I was like, oh, I know that from when he was on HBO or what have you. Mm-hmm. But Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Basically, the storyline is Pee Wee lives in this house of fun. If I could live in that house, that was probably every kid's dream. To have everything Pee Wee Herman had in the house. But he has this bike that he holds near and dear to him. It's his prized possession. Matter of fact, on the movie, there's a point where he has a secret compartment where he punches in a code and then the code
it
opens up like
the
a
slide.
yeah.
And the bike is called the X1, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't remember the bike.
I'm almost positive that it's the X1.
Okay. Well, it was like a beach bike. It had the beach handles, the seat, and everything like that. Yeah, beach cruiser.
Debo would have stolen it if he could have.
Yeah, Debo would have took that bike from Pee Wee with no problem. But Pee Wee goes to visit. I believe it's a bike shop that a friend of his, a female friend, works at, who's actually interested in him. And when he finally comes out of the store,
had to get the horn fixed.
That's right. Yeah, he had to get the horn fixed on the bike.
Well, she was making the horn for him. Like he didn't have the horn on it, so he went. Dottie was her name.
Yep.
And he went to the store to get the horn from Dottie. And,
RJ, what's up, brother?
And in the midst of it, I think he went to the joke shop and the magic shop.
Yes, he did. Yep.
But he chained the bike up with literally like 17 rolls of chains and chains and chains and chains and chains. So that was, he was protecting his bike. So
and when he came out, somebody had stole the bike. Don't know how they did it, but they stole the bike. And the funny thing is, he had a neighbor who was very privileged, very rich. His father was rich, and he automatically thought it was this guy right from Jump Street.
Well, back up. So before Pee Wee even went to the magic shop, the dude had approached him and asked him if he could buy the bike because it was his birthday. Mm-hmm. So that's what kind of prompted him to be like, what's his name, Lawrence?
I think it was Lawrence. No, it's FB. He had the one Francis, yes.
No Francis.
Yes. Yep, that's exactly no Francis. So he's exactly right. Francis went to try to get the bike from Pee Wee. Pee Wee's like, it's not for sale. He's like, my dad says everything is for sale.
Mm-hmm. It's my birthday. You have to give me what I want.
Right. So Pee Wee goes in the store and it's stolen, and Pee Wee goes absolutely ape shit. Can't find the bike anywhere. He's looking everywhere. I remember he had a meeting in his house.
Neighborhood meeting there. The neighborhood meeting in the basement.
And I love the neighborhood meeting because
the guy from the magic shop was there.
Yes.
Dottie was there.
Dottie.
The BMX bikers
bike
were
owner.
there.
The bike owner, the guy who owned the shop. I think it was a black gentleman with a Jamaican accent, wasn't it?
I think he was the one from the magic shop.
No, the magic shop was a white guy. I remember that. I remember him.
Oh no, I do. I do know. I know exactly what guy. Yeah. So the black guy. I can't remember his name.
I can't.
That was a little bit much. We could literally spend the hour talking about Pee Wee's Big Adventure. To be honest,
to shorten it up, he has this meeting and he goes on, and the people in the house go crazy. They're like, Pee Wee, this is ridiculous, blah blah blah. So Pee Wee goes on this big adventure to try to find his bike, and as he's trying to find his bike, he meets all these colorful characters and all these crazy things happening. Convict. Yeah, convict. He meets Large Marge, which, if you haven't seen the Large Marge scene, I'm not going to tell you about it. It was the greatest thing when I was a kid. It kind of scared you and made you laugh at the same time. Just a very fun movie for a child to see.
We went to the Alamo.
The Alamo, yes. He
met
the
girl
lady who had the big
being
boyfriend.
abused by the dude and blah, blah, blah.
The guy was like 6'10" or something like that.
So I'll tell you what I remember in Pee Wee Herman that stands out. And it's because I hate them so much. I hate snakes. Absolutely. You can pull a gun on me and I'm going to laugh at you. But if you have a snake, you will never see a 6'3", 340-pound man run as fast as you will see me run if you bring a snake anywhere near me. But that scene when the pet shop is on fire.
Right.
And he has to go rescue. He rescues all the animals and keeps running by the snakes. And he's like, ugh. And then finally all the animals are free, and the only thing left in that pet shop were the snakes. And he comes out with 2 handfuls of snakes and like passes out, and then the snakes are crawling all over him. Oh, worst nightmare. That's when I give up on Fear Factor. When they're like, oh yeah, you gotta sit in here with some snakes. Nope.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
He wins. Done.
Yeah. So it was a very good movie.
And nobody better bring no damn snakes over here if you're watching this on live or anything.
I had that thing on VHS, man, and I'm surprised the tape didn't snap on me. But if you've never seen it, go check it out. Pee Wee's Big Adventure. You want to get into one of your movies next, or you want me to keep?
I actually have a lot of the movies, and I did this online. So I'm going to talk about one of the ones that I do not own, and it is my favorite movie. And it is Real Genius with Val Kilmer, Gabe Jarrett. Gabe Jarrett didn't really do anything after Real Genius. It also had, if you ever seen Die Hard, the dickhead reporter that
Yes.
gave up Holly McClane's name,
Yes.
and Hans knew that that was the wife or whatever. That he was in it. He was essentially the villain in that. He was a scientist. So
He was also Ghostbusters, right?
maybe I've only seen Ghostbusters probably once, maybe twice.
I thought he was the guy that wanted to shut them down. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, so it's basically a movie about a school for super smart kids and a 15-year-old kid that had skipped into this college, and the previous super smart kid was the Val Kilmer character, and they ended up being roommates. But Val Kilmer is just like super sarcastic throughout it, just hilarious, like with one-liners. Anything that was brought up, he had something funny to say. I think one of the things was he was like, "Hey, I have to tell you about something that happened to me." And Val Kilmer's character says, "Is it a dream where 1,000 naked women are throwing pickles at you? Am I the only one that has that dream?" So just that type of humor. So that was Real Genius, 1985. I do have it DVR'd. I have it saved on the TV. But I don't own the video. I will own that video.
I've seen Real Genius before, and I don't remember the whole movie. However, I do remember how he was taking a thing of, I don't know if it was ice or something, and he was
it was dry ice, and he used like a laser to slice it to put it in the coffee machine and get coffee.
Yeah, I do.
And
remember
you
that.
know who else is in that?
Who's that?
Remember, so the first season of Martin with Stan.
Yes.
So Sean was in
the
it.
werewolf from Monster Squad.
But Sean was in it though. Sean was the white guy that
worked at the radio.
That bossed Stan bossed around all the time. Sean was in Real Genius as the initial super smart kid who kind of lived in their closet. Like you would go in the closet, and once you shut the door, it took you down. And he was coming up with some system for some weird entry into a promotion where you could win whatever, enter as much as you like. So he entered, all these things and literally won every prize of the giveaway. So Sean was in it.
James O'Hagan was good.
I'm trying to think anybody else. Nobody else really major in that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie is one of my favorites. Val Kilmer is actually one of my favorite actors. Not in my top 10,
definitely not mine.
But he's, Real Genius, Willow. Y'all might kill me for this, but the Batman movie, Tombstone.
Yeah, we will kill you for the Batman movie.
It's not as bad as Book calls
Batman and Robin was the worst.
Batman and Robin. So
absolutely.
Booker calls Batman and Robin the gay ice capades. But
it did feel like almost an ice capade
it was.
show. Yeah.
They clicked their heels together and fucking ice skates came out. Like, what the hell? Like, they went through a drive-thru and he pulled out some Bat credit card. Like, just a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tombstone he was in.
Yeah.
Top
Tombstone
Gun
was amazing.
He was in Top Gun. Just all types of movies. So he's in
Heat.
there of my top 10 actors.
We forgot Heat. Heat was
He
excellent.
was great in Heat.
I don't think he made Heat though.
No.
Yeah.
But he was great in Heat. But yeah, Val Kilmer is definitely up in there, and maybe we can do a podcast on that, just our favorite actors and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
But pass it off to your next movie.
My next movie is one that I don't know how popular it was at the time. I don't know. Like I was talking to you earlier, I said, "Have you ever seen it?" You said no. So it might be one that people missed. But the next one I'm gonna talk about is Running Scared. Okay.
Now was that 85 or 86?
86.
I knew it was one of them.
This is not the Running Scared with Paul Walker that came out in 2000 something. This is the original.
Now I've seen
Scared.
that one.
You have seen that one? Yeah.
Ironically, I've seen that one. I just haven't seen the original.
Running Scared starred Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. It was probably the first cop buddy movie I could think of. I'm sure there was some before.
Yeah.
But, you know, this might have been what set off the whole genre of it because it kind of went crazy in the 80s.
I think 48 Hours was before.
I'm
48
not sure
Hours
what year 48 Hours
might have preceded Running Scared.
Possibly.
If I'm not
But
mistaken.
they both weren't cops, though.
Yeah, but it was still a buddy
was.
movie.
Fair enough.
It was one of those things. And yes, I had to put this up. My ears are getting hot.
Running Scared starred Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines. They're cops who kind of live a violent life. Like, they didn't mind getting into shootouts and different things like that. You know, they were very prideful cops. And one day they catch an up-and-coming drug dealer named, I believe his name was Juan Gonzalez in the movie. It's played by Jimmy Smits. I remember that was the first movie I saw him in. Okay. They actually captured one of Jimmy Smits' workers, who was Joe Pontiolano, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
He's the captain in
from
Bad Boys.
Yes.
Ralphie in Sopranos.
Yeah, so they captured him, and they were using him, making him wear a wire or whatever to catch Gonzalez, so they had enough evidence. Snake, or Joe Pontiolano, set them up. He was acting like he was getting hurt. They rush in, and nothing's happening to him. And Gonzalez is getting ready to kill them. There was 2 cops that were undercover in Gonzalez's crew, unbeknownst to him. Okay, so they helped him out. They got out of it. Gonzalez ran off. Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines caught them. Before they got caught, though, Gonzalez or Jimmy Smits did turn on Joe Pontiolano and said, even though you told me about these cops, you led them to me. So he killed him. They caught Gonzalez, took him back, and their captain, I can't think of the actor's name, and I can't even think of a movie right now that he plays on. He's a famous actor, too. Always played in kind of smaller roles. But anyway, the captain was pissed at him because of the way they called him, talking about their antics or whatever, and sends them on a vacation. Okay, a paid vacation.
So didn't Billy Crystal, he wore like a Chicago Cubs?
Yes, he did. He wore Chicago Cubs because it was based out of Chicago.
Gregory Hines had on the green jacket?
Yeah.
Army jacket?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So they went down to Florida, and when they're down there, they have an epiphany like, you know what? We've done all this stuff. We're good cops. We get shot at. You know, what's going to be our legacy? Why don't we retire by a bar down here and run the bar? It's a hell of a lot better than getting shot at. And Gregory Hines at first is like, nah, you know, I love being a cop or whatever. And then finally, I think something had happened where they almost got hurt when they came back to Chicago. And he was like, you know what, let's do it. Okay. So when they finally, I think, came back from vacation, they found out that Gonzalez was released because of some kind of evidence or something. Something got fouled up. And before they can retire, in their mind, they got to capture this guy. So being that they brought so much heat on Gonzalez, they kidnap Billy Crystal's ex-wife, who he has kind of a rough relationship with, okay? But obviously he still cares about her. So, you know, without giving the ending away or anything, that's pretty much the gist of the movie. I thought it was a phenomenal movie way back then. I've watched it recently. I think it's just as good as it was. A lot of comedy, good amount of action. You know, I thought it was kind of unique to see Billy Crystal be serious at times and do his comedy as well, because usually it's kind of a slapstick or over the top type of comedy movie he usually plays in. I've rarely seen him be serious in movies at that point. Later on, maybe. Like My Giant might have been a little serious at times or what have you. But,
I didn't see. I know of it.
Yeah.
I never watched
but as
it.
far as back in '86, this was the first time I saw him be pretty serious. But it's a good movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. I know there's a lot of people that's probably seen the movie, you know, and please give your opinions about it in the comments. You know, if you like
any of the movies.
Yeah, any of the movies. Yep. Absolutely. What was your next one?
So I'm going to combine 2 movies actually because they're very similar. Well, they're not similar, but they're topically the same movie, and that's Quicksilver. Kevin Bacon, bicycle messenger, stock market guy, loses crap load of money in the stock market, becomes this bike messenger in New York, and then there's Jamie Gertz, I think is the girl in it, and she it's kind of like a runaway from home, whatever. So he kind of mentors her a little bit. They end up getting into a relationship. Paul Rodriguez is kind of Kevin Bacon's mentor in the movie. Lawrence Fishburne is in the movie. He gets run down by a drug dealer because he was running drugs for the dude. Kevin Bacon kind of makes it his mission to. It wasn't really trying to like arrest him or anything, but he just like follows him around and whatever. And the drug dealer catches on to him, and there's this cool. Besides the race scene between Lawrence Fishburne and Kevin Bacon, the drug dealer's in the car chasing Kevin Bacon on the bike, and that's kind of the gist of the movie. Pretty much, it's the bicycles. Bicycles were a big part of my life growing up. I always had bicycles. I remember my first bike was a banana seat.
Mine too.
Space Invader bike that I got made fun of. My brother had a Space Invader bike. He had a regular bike, and I had the Space. We both had Space Invader bikes. He had the regular seat and all that. I got stuck, I guess, because I was younger, with the banana seat one. Even with the, I guess they call them ape hanger handlebars that go deep down. Mm-hmm. So I had the ape hanger ones where he had the regular. So I always had bikes. Love bikes. I have 2 bikes downstairs.
Can I tell you a funny bike story? I ain't going to cut you off. Okay, so when I was a kid, I loved big wheels.
Do you have a Rolex, John? Not to interrupt, but John said you have a Rolex.
No, it's not a Rolex, John. Lord have mercy. And James, anytime, but my brother here, Cam, does not like horror movies, so it would be me and you probably talking only.
Well, I can talk just about why I dislike them so much.
Got you. So my bike story. I used to love big wheels. My nephew, who was a year and a half, almost 2 years younger than me, came over to my father's house, who was his grandfather, and had this Knight Rider bike. Because I had a Knight Rider big wheel.
Yeah, that was
he had this
awesome
Knight Rider bike. He was like, man, why you riding a big wheel, man? You older than me. I was like, man, I like my big wheels. My dad heard it, threw my big wheel out, and bought me the banana seat bicycle. I almost flipped out. I was like, I didn't want a bike, Dad. I wanted to keep riding my big wheel. So I was kind of forced into it. Another funny thing, my sister actually taught me how to ride a bike without the training wheels. Mm-hmm. My dad worked a lot, and he gave me a lot of attention, but he just never got out there with me with the bike, and my sister did. Shout out Yvette Jones. Everybody knows now you taught me how to ride a bike.
I will say I never had a bike with training wheels. I went from big wheel to bicycle. BMX type stuff, we did like all the tricks, which leads into this next 80s movie. It's 1985. It's very, very, very seldom seen movie. It is rad.
I actually haven't seen it myself.
I think probably the most notable person in Rad is Talia Shire, and she plays the guy who's the BMX dude's mom. Other than that, there's not very many famous people. I think Bart Allen, who was Olympic gold medal gymnast, was kind of like the bad guy bike rider. And his name was Bart in the movie. There was a set of twins that were his 2 little sidekicks, and they kind of wiped out everybody else that was in the race. So basically, he's the hometown kid. They have this race, BMX race on a dirt track called Hell Track. They have to, Crew is the hometown kid. All the rest are like professional riders for Schwinn, Haro, Hutch, GT, Dino, all those. If you're into bikes and you know all those names, make a comment, click like, all that stuff. Martin Aparo, who is an amazing BMX vert rider, is in it. So basically, the kids gotta qualify for Hell Track, and there's a series of qualifying races. You gotta win like 3 out of 4 or something like that to qualify. Right. Crew is unconventional. Oh, Lori Laughlin's Lori Loughlin. So
Oh yeah,
recently
Aunt Becky, right?
Aunt Becky, who's
Yeah.
recently in the news for getting, the
She's
whole
in the news for doing
kids
some bad
right
shit.
getting her kids into college. She's in that. So there's two: Talia Shire and Lori Loughlin. So Lori Loughlin is like the ex girlfriend of the Bart dude, and her and the crew dude end up falling in love, and she's like teaching him how to do a full 360 backflip, and he qualifies for Hell Track, etc. Blah blah blah, and he races against this, Bart Connor or Bart Allen, whatever his name is. He races against him, and the way he at one point he gets kind of knocked out of the race, like they kind of like the twins that I was talking about, they knock him off the track, and he's got to get back, and to get back, as he's moving through the field, there's like a Wheaties bowl. So he like goes, and instead of going, you have to go in the Wheaties bowl, jump up out. So instead of doing that, he hits this thing and does this full 360 backflip and passes like 4 or 5 guys. And then it ends up being him and the Bart dude in the finale. Rad Racing. I have some of the songs on my iPod. I listen to the songs when I'm in the gym. Good soundtrack. Same with Quicksilver. Soundtrack. And just one of those movies that make you want to get out on a bike. And I know me and the guys from Four Seasons, shout out to Four Seasons here in Newark. We had our little BMX crew. We would actually wheelie. So we lived right across from Glasgow, in that neighborhood. So right when they first started building People's Plaza, I mean, the movie theater wasn't there. The only thing that was really up there was like the little corner store, and it used to be a seafood place. Now it's a car rental place.
Okay.
The McDonald's they had just built. We used to ride up 896. Yeah, so we used to ride up 896 and surf, which is on BMX bikes. There's like a kind of like a 2 bars that go out right alongside of the seat. So you put your 2 feet there, stand up. So your arms are in the air. So you're just pedal, go as fast as you can. Boom, hop up there, surf. We would surf down 896. 896 wasn't like really busy like it is now. Okay. So we would surf up 896. We would ride wheelies up 896, and we had a couple guys.
John said he think it was called Yankee Restaurant.
We had a couple guys that could wheelie probably the length of from Four Seasons all the way up to that McDonald's. But yeah, the biking was a big part of my life growing up. We had this place behind the apartments over there called the Dirt Trails that was it was a bike track.
Right.
But it wasn't like a formal thing. Only us kids in the neighborhood knew about it. But yeah, so 2 of my favorite movies from the 80s involve bikes. Definitely a big part of my childhood, bikes. And like I said, I have 2 bikes downstairs.
Gotcha. I'm going to touch on another movie, but before I do, I want to go back to Running Scared because there's something I think that's worth mentioning. So Running Scared had a pretty good soundtrack. Michael McDonald had a song on there called Sweet Freedom. Michael McDonald was a hit singer of the, not the original hit singer, but he became the hit singer of the Doobie Brothers when he joined the group. And he had a song called Sweet Freedom. Billy Crystal and Gregory Hine was actually in the video, which was kind of cool. But there was another song on the soundtrack by a group called Climax. And the song was called Man-Sized Love. That is what they named it. I can't make this up. The girl says, "Can you show me what a man-sized love is on there?" And there's actually a love scene between Gregory Hines and a young lady on there. And at the time, even being young, I knew what they were talking about.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't do a real good job of hiding it, but I thought that was worth mentioning. But anyway, the next movie I want to get into, my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. I know people are going to get on me because it's not Coming to America. It's not Beverly Hills Cop. My favorite Eddie Murphy movie and one of my favorite 80s movies is The Golden Child. Okay?
I want the night.
At that point, I don't ever remember seeing a movie that had just as good comedy as it did action. and this is one of the reasons that I really like this movie. And the stuff Eddie Murphy was saying in there, I mean, even the simplest stuff. There's a scene where he jumps over the fence and there's a white family barbecuing, and he has a gun. Now, he's trying to get in the house of these bikers who kidnapped this girl. Okay?
Right.
And when he jumps over, he looks just as shocked as...
Yeah. Oh, no, it was the girl that got
Yeah,
kidnapped. Yeah, that's in the very, very beginning.
Yeah. So... the white family looks shocked, and Eddie Murphy looks just as shocked. And finally said, "Hey, man," he picks his gun up. "I just want a chip, man. That's all I want is one chip." You know, it's just simple stuff like that he did in the movie that made me laugh. Let alone what he just said, "I want the knife." That whole scene is
well,
funny.
that guy, that character, the character that I guess
the Tibetan guy. Yeah.
I remember he was in big trouble from Little China.
Yes, he was. He was Wing.
Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, he wasn't.
No,
he
not
wasn't.
Wing.
Wing was the main character.
It was like I or something. And I remember his line in I think maybe he was the one that said it. It was just like, "We got to get out of the rain." And Jack, the Kurt Russell dude, says, Kurt Russell says something along the lines of, "A brave man likes to feel nature on his face." And he turns around. Egg was his name.
Egg, yeah.
So Egg says, "Yeah, but the smart man has enough sense to get the hell out of the rain." That was a good line for that. Yeah. But I also like Golden Child. So I'll chime in with my little Golden Child. Yeah. Charlotte Rae, the girl, big crush on Charlotte Rae.
You're not the only one. Did you know she did a Playboy back in the day?
Yes, I have actually seen
James O'Hagan, shout out to you because you had that Playboy and I saw it. Mama, I apologize. But I saw it.
I've Googled the picture, but Charlotte Rae, yes. Asian, big crush on Charlotte Rae. I Want the Knife. Actually, anybody that watched Game of Thrones, Tywin Lannister, the father of Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion. Tywin is the bad guy in that movie. Very, very scary. He was scary, and he was very scary in The Golden Child. That scene where he tries to make the kid eat blood under the thing, super scary. He was just scary.
Brother Noomsy.
Yeah. He was scary in that. He was scary in, I think he's in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Last
Action Hero.
Last Action Hero, yeah.
I think he has like a glass eye.
He's always pretty much a bad guy.
Super scary, yeah. That voice.
Yeah. Definitely very menacing. Just a rundown of The Golden Child real quick. Eddie Murphy plays a character named Chandler Jarrell. And the guy you were just talking about always mispronounces it. He calls him Jarrell or something like that. He's like, "Why you always say my name wrong?" But anyway, Eddie Murphy is this guy who works with children. He looks for missing children or what have you.
Kids advocate, basically.
Yeah.
Like he was helping those kids with the basketball. And
working with the kids with the basketball.
Eddie's a terrible basketball player. But
in the very beginning, he goes on a talk show looking for a little girl.
Also funny scene because the dude keeps interrupting him and saying something, and he just like kind of puts like, "Look, the girl, you all have a good day."
He's like, "Hold on, give me this mic."
Yeah, right. Yeah, very funny.
He's like, "Now y'all can go to talk about the turtles or whatever." Mm-hmm. So, basically he gets approached by what was her name again? The lady.
I don't remember her actual name in the movie, but I know.
No, but her real
Charlotte Rae.
Charlotte Rae.
I think it's.
He gets approached by Charlotte Rae. I don't know what her name was in the movie. I can't remember, but she approaches him about finding the Golden Child or whatever, and it becomes all this mystic stuff and whatever. And Eddie Murphy doesn't believe any of it.
He doesn't believe until
he meets the dragon lady, right?
No.
Oh no. Okay.
Until the dream. Where the bad guy came in and carved on his arm, and then when he wakes up, that thing is still there. Right. That's when he was like, "Oh, damn!" So and that's what convinces him to go to Tibet with homegirl.
So going back a little bit, the first girl that he was looking for on the show, he gets a lead on her. That's when he jumps over the fence and says, "I want one chip," and he has the gun. At the same time, the girl Charlotte Rae went to help him as well, unbeknownst to him. He told her to stay in the car. And when she got in there, I think... no, they captured him, actually. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. they captured him. Charlotte Ray came in and kind of saved him, and he's like, "Didn't I tell you stay in the car? I had these guys. I'll take care of this. It's dangerous in here." Not knowing that she was who she was. She was a
because she hops the fence. So she double flips over the fence.
Over the fence, and she knows karate and everything else, but he didn't know that about her. They actually end up kind of falling in love as they go on this whole adventure to try to save the golden child. He actually has to go to Tibet to get this knife. That's where the I want the knife part comes in. The
knife is the only thing that'll kill the devil or whatever the
Brother Numpsy or what have you. So he ends up going on a journey for this knife, and at first he has to ask for permission to even do it, and the guy finally says, "Fine, you can go ahead and go on trial." So he goes into the basement of this building, and it's these logs and just a bunch of dark space where you cannot see anything at all. So as he's on the logs, he's like, "Hold on, let me see how deep this is." Takes a quarter out and drops it, and it never hits the ground. It's like, "It didn't hit the ground." He's like, "Yeah, I know." The guy is screaming up from upstairs. He's like, "When I get out of here, I'm going to kick your ass." Anyway, he ends up getting a knife, and they come back to America. As he's trying to come back to America.
So the way that he gets the knife is he initially starts out with a glass of water. And he doesn't know what to do with the glass of water. But so in order to get the knife is literally behind this wall of fire.
Yeah.
And he finally figures out how to get the knife is drink the water, the flame disappears, and then he gets the knife. So that was kind of a cool, unique thing that they gave him the water. And if you're watching it and you never saw it, you're like, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is he got to do with a cup of water?
And the guy did give him a hint. He said, make something as pure as... I forget exactly.
Almost like a riddle type of thing.
Yeah.
But so that scene is very, very similar to the way they did Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, where he had to do those
Jehovah,
the tests to get there, even walking across the thing where Indy had the sand and had to throw it there, and the bridge was actually there. It's just blended into the background. So very, very similar situations, and that Indiana Jones came out after. So
Trading Places was a good one.
They could have Trading Places, love Trading Places. So they could have stolen that, but
so he ends up getting a knife. He tries to come back to America. When he gets to the airport, Brother Numpsy, or whatever his real name was, but that's what Eddie called him, was at the airport.
Sodom Noospa.
Yeah, Sodom Noospa, yeah. He has the police there, and he's trying to get him arrested. And Eddie Murphy starts making a ruckus. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I stole from my brother Numpsy. Go ahead and take me to jail." And
because the knife would have went into custody.
Right. Because it would have, So he asked him what he was doing. He's like, "Look, if I get arrested, your knife goes into custody, which you're not going to get, such and such a thing." So he finally ends up letting Eddie Murphy leave, says it was some kind of mistake or whatever.
Misunderstanding.
And then Brother Numpsy tries to come and get the knife. And I'm not going to give any more away from there, because if you haven't seen it, I want you to see it and comment on it. And, tell me what you think about it, or tell us what you think about it. And we'll go from there. But The Golden Child, to me, is my favorite, bar none, my favorite Eddie Murphy movie of all time. Did you want to go on your next one, or you want?
Yeah. So my next one is I don't know if this is one you've seen, but since we're on comedian, well, no, I'll skip over. So this is one I know you've seen. Since we're doing Eddie Murphy, I'll go into Richard Pryor.
Okay.
It's a movie that I own. It's sitting right there. It's Brewster's Millions. And man, I swear there are nights when I can't fall asleep, and I sit and I give myself this weird amount of money, and I try to spend it in my head, and in the course of spending it, that's how I fall asleep. So it's like a reoccurring way of how I fall asleep. Richard Pryor, John Candy, and basically real easy, and it's probably a quick story to tell. They're baseball players. They get arrested in a bar fight. Richard Pryor finds out he had a rich white uncle who hated black people, which is funny. And he's the only heir to this money. So he gives him $30 million, which he has to spend in 30 days. Now he can't own anything after the 30 days. He can't destroy anything that's inherently valuable, like buy the Mona Lisa and use it as firewood, I think was one of the examples they gave him. So he can't own anything. So basically he has to spend 30 days, and the kicker is if he spends 30 million in 30 days, he gets the full amount, which is $300 million. Now the law firm that's representing the uncle gets the money if he fails. So they spend the movie trying to sabotage him, essentially. And it's basically he just spending money. I think at one point he ends up running for mayor of New York, fall in love with the girl, etc. Blah blah blah. It's just entertaining to see him run through all that. Because Richard Pryor is just funny all in himself. So.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of Richard Pryors. My buddy had mentioned The Toy. Mm-hmm. Which was another good movie with Richard Pryor in it.
Had Ralph Cramden in it.
Yeah, Jackie Gleason. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with Richard Pryor.
Wasn't he wearing a baseball jersey in that?
In The Toy? Jackie Gleason?
No, Richard Pryor.
I don't remember him wearing a baseball jersey. Mm-hmm. I don't remember.
I think I've seen pieces of that, not the whole thing.
So,
but I will say this. So going back to the Golden Child.
Yeah.
Have you seen what the girl that was the Golden Child looks like now?
Yes.
Okay.
I have. My buddy had touched on that in the comments. He had said something about that it was the crazy thing. It was actually a girl or what have you.
They get arrested in a bar fight. Richard Pryor finds out he had a rich white uncle who hated black people, which is funny. And he's the only heir to this money. So he gives him $30 million, which he has to spend in 30 days. Now he can't own anything after the 30 days. He can't destroy anything that's inherently valuable, like buy the Mona Lisa and use it as firewood, I think was one of the examples they gave him. So he can't own anything. So basically he has to spend 30 days, and the kicker is if he spends 30 million in 30 days, he gets the full amount, which is $300 million. Now the law firm that's representing the uncle gets the money if he fails. So they spend the movie trying to sabotage him, essentially. And it's basically he just spending money. I think at one point he ends up running for mayor of New York. Fall in love with the girl, etc. Blah blah blah. It's just entertaining to see him run through all that. Because Richard Pryor is just funny all in himself. So.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of Richard Pryors. My buddy had mentioned The Toy. Mm-hmm. Which was another good movie with Richard Pryor in it.
Had Ralph Cramden in it.
Yeah, Jackie Gleason. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with Richard Pryor.
Wasn't he wearing a baseball jersey in that?
In The Toy? Jackie Gleason?
No, Richard Pryor.
I don't remember him wearing a baseball jersey. I don't remember.
I think I've seen pieces of that, not the whole thing.
So,
but I will say this. So going back to the Golden Child.
Yeah.
Have you seen what the girl that was the Golden Child looks like now?
Yes.
Okay.
I have. My buddy had touched on that in the comments. He had said something about that it was the crazy thing. It was actually a girl or what have you.
Hold on. Listen.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So the next movie I'm going to talk about, I actually. Okay.
You might have to edit this part. You just go ahead and stop. Let me deal with her. She's in there eating plastic.
Hey. So, all right, Kennedy. All right. Bear with us for 1 second. Our third member of the podcast, Kennedy the Pitbull, is hungry, so Vanilla Gorilla went to feed her. Yeah, we will. All right. Yeah, no problem.
Right.
No. All right, so the next movie I'm gonna talk about, because I actually got a bonus one as we were talking, because I kind of forgot about this one to put on my list. But the next movie I'm gonna talk about is The Lost Boys. Okay.
Hated that movie.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely one of my favorite movies. No issue at all. So The Lost Boys, I don't remember the actor's name except for Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Was it?
It had Kiefer Sutherland,
Kiefer Sutherland,
Jason Patrick.
Jason Patrick was the
main good
big
guy.
brother, yeah,
Main
the
good
big
guy.
brother of
It's
Corey
Haim.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, Feldman, right?
No,
Haim?
he was Corey
Okay.
Haim's brother.
Okay, so who else? Is that
I know who's in it. I just
the guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Not Keanu Reeves, the other guy. He's one of the vampires.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Lost Boys is placed in a fictional town. I can't remember the name of the town. It's like San Bernardino or something crazy.
Yeah, somewhere out in California.
And
Kinda
it's
like one
kind
of
of
those
a
desert suburban town
Yeah.
type of place.
kind of secluded or what have you, and they have, unbeknownst to Feldman and Patrick, who are just moving into that town with their mother. They're moving in with their grandfather. They have a vampire problem. Okay. Now, when they get there, Corey Haim meets these
not
two
sure which one of
guys
the
called
Coreys.
what are they called? The Frog Brothers? Yeah.
I
The Toad or the Frog Brothers. Good grief, maybe I shouldn't review this movie. But
well, I mean, you don't have to review it. Just give it
Yeah.
like a brief.
Yeah. Anyway, he meets with them, and they're kind of, leery of him because he's new in town or what have you, because they meet him at a comic book store, and they're talking about vampires, and Corey Haim finds them very weird. Meanwhile, Jason Patrick is liking this girl, which is... Do you remember who the actress is? Okay.
Well, he's older and related to the older kids like Kiefer and all those other
Right.
dudes, where Corey Haim establishes a relationship with Corey Feldman in the comic book store, and Corey Feldman is like this super, like, comic book. He knows all about vampires. He's kind of like the expert, and he has this conspiracy theory about vampires being around, etc. And he kind of pulls Corey Haim into it.
Right. And as Jason Patrick is following this girl, she seems to be, if not the girlfriend of Kiefer Sutherland, at least in a part of his group.
Used to be girlfriend, I think it was the premise that
Gotcha.
she used to date one of those guys, and
Right.
more than likely it was probably.
So I think Patrick and Sutherland end up getting into a little bit of a scuffle, and Sutherland kind of takes, I don't know if you want to call it a liking, but something like that, invites Patrick to hang out with them. So I think he does it one time. He finds them to be a little strange. And when he does it the second time, they make him drink this wine. They're like, here, you want to have some of this wine? And I remember one of the scenes is he was eating Chinese food. And he was like, is that rice you're eating, buddy? Or is it maggots? And he looks crazy. And then he looks down and it's a box full of maggots. He drops it and it turns back to rice. So they get him to drink this wine, and the wine happens to be blood. And he turns into a vampire, but it's a slow process. So as he's turning, even his mom is kind of like, what's going on with you lately?
Or he's sweating a
you're
lot.
wearing these sunglasses during the, all the time or what have you. And it's this one night that he goes out with Kiefer Sutherland and his gang, and Kiefer Sutherland, they're hanging in a tree, literally. And he says, watch this. And they go down and they attack these people and start, eating their blood. I mean, it's a vicious attack. I think he bit the one guy's head open, if I'm not mistaken, or what have you. And Jason Patrick starts getting the itch once he sees the blood. And he turns into a vampire, and he realizes, kind of what he's done or what have you. So Corey Haim starts noticing that Jason Patrick, who's his brother, is starting to change as well, starting to act different or whatever. And one night, he's taking
Corey
a bath.
is giving him these hints and like egging on his suspicion the whole time, and blah blah blah.
So Corey Haim is taking a bath, and the brother's upstairs in the room, and he starts flying, but he can't control it. So he actually flies outside of the bathroom window. No, he doesn't fly outside the bathroom window first. He tries to break into the bathroom, and Corey Haim has this wolf dog named Nanook. I remember the dog's name. He has a dog named Nanook, and the dog is like freaking out. And finally, Jason Patrick opens the door, and the dog attacks him. And Corey Haim gets dressed, and he goes downstairs. He's like, Mike, what did you do? That was his name in the movie. Mike, what did you do to my dog? I didn't do anything. He attacked me. There's some milk spilt on the ground. He's holding his hand where he got bit by the dog. And he looks in the mirror. He's like, Mike, you don't have a reflection. He's like, you're a vampire, man. Get away from me. Stay away from me. So he tries to hide. He's like, I need your help, man. I need your help. So Corey Haim, of course, that's his brother. He wants to help him. He goes to the Frog Brothers, and he tells him he believes his brother's a vampire. He's like, okay, all you have to do is find the vampire that turned him.
Lead vampire, yeah.
Oh, the lead vampire, right. And if you kill them, it'll work out. So at first, they think the lead vampire is this guy dating his mother. Okay? So
I thought at first it was Kiefer Sutherland.
No, they thought it was him at first. Then they thought it was Kiefer Sutherland, and then they find out who it really is. But without giving it away, because I don't like to give away that. So
I do, but
yeah. So
if you haven't watched it by now,
that's true.
Freaking 80s movies. It was like 87.
Might be some people that weren't around.
Nah, that'll be all right.
Anyway, I think it's this guy dating his mom, invite him over for dinner, put all this garlic in his spaghetti and everything, and he starts choking. They're like, oh, you don't like garlic? He was like, I love it. It's just too much. They try to get his reflection. His reflection shows up in the mirror. So they leave him alone, and then they believe it's Kiefer Sutherland's character. So they actually hide out in this cave. The gang hangs out in the cave, so they decide to go there during the day and try to take the vampires out. And they do end up taking, matter of fact, it's the guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, if I'm not mistaken. They end up taking him out, and all the vampires wake up and start chasing him. And Kiefer Sutherland has Corey Haim by the leg, but he was able to drag his arm up far enough where there was some sun showing through the cave, and it burnt him, and he let him go. So Kiefer Sutherland, I'll never forget this part. He drops a tear on his eye, and he says, tonight. So basically the vampires gear up, and they're going to attack the guys at night or what have you. So this whole thing ensues that I don't want to give away. You can go and see the movie for yourself when you get a chance. And once again, please comment if you do watch it. It's a great movie. Very good movie. And that's the consensus pretty much among everybody.
Yeah, I'm not, as we discussed multiple times, and as people on our podcast and Facebook Live will figure out, I am not a horror person, and Lost Boys, while it's not a horror movie, it does fall into that category. I'm not a vampire fan. I don't like monsters. I don't like zombies. I've never watched any of those Walking Dead, vampire, any type of vampire movie. I've never seen it. Just don't like them. So I'm gonna lump all three of my last movies in, because as a general rule, I make a quick synopsis. So, there's three movies that are like teeny bopper type movies. This is one that I think everybody, if not a lot of people, have seen. I think we talked about it. You've seen it. I've probably seen it more than you.
Yeah.
But I do own this movie, and it's Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah.
They did a remake of it with Nick Cannon here in the 90s or something like that.
Don't call it a thing or something?
I don't know. I'm not a Nick Cannon fan. I never watched it. But, so Can't Buy Me Love, basically the premise is a nerdy guy in school wants to be popular for his senior year, so he pays a cheerleader to date him, breaks up with her, ends up being like the coolest guy in school. She outs him and says he had to pay for it, and that's basically the premise of the movie. One that a lot of people probably haven't seen is Just One of the Guys, and it's a girl that wants to be a newspaper reporter, but she's treated unfairly by the editor, blah blah blah, and you wouldn't do this to me if I was a boy, and she makes herself a guy and goes to school and has this best friend who doesn't know that she's a girl, so they're friendly, but she ends up falling in love with him. Blah 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 blah, whatever. And there was boobs in the movie, which is probably one of the reasons I liked it as a kid.
Yeah,
She like flashes him. She flashes the dude at the end to prove that she's a girl, which is,
my favorite scene.
If you watched it on VHS, that was when you like jumped up to hit the pause button. It was like, so if you had a VHS back in the day, that was probably at the point where the tracking started to go out. So
I did that a bunch with Action Jackson when Vanity.
See, I haven't seen Action Jackson.
Okay. Yeah, I used to have the biggest crush on Vanity.
And then lastly, Legend of Billie Jean, which I have recently watched. Love Legend of Billie Jean. Has
Fred Mathis, what's up?
Has Helen Slater, who played Supergirl. She's also she was in Smallville as Clark Kent's mother in Smallville. So she played both Supergirl and Clark Kent's mother. And then in the new Supergirl series on CW, she plays Supergirl's foster mother. So she's continued along that. But Helen Slater's in it. Her brother, Christian Slater, I think it was probably one of his first movies. I think I looked it up. He was 14 or 15 when he was in that movie. So really, really young. And basically the story, the Legend of Billie Jean, she's redneck, hillbilly, lives in a trailer park, but super beautiful. And this guy, Hubie Pyatt, he wants to get with her, but she doesn't want anything to do with him because he's an asshole. Hubie terrorizes her brother, whose name is Binks. I don't know what type of name Binks is, but terrorizes Binks. He has this scooter that he loves. Binks steals the scooter, trashes it, and Binks goes to try to get it back, and they kick his ass. He's beat up, bloody, whatever. So Billie Jean goes to his dad's shop. His dad has a shop on the beach to get compensation for the scooter. He invites her upstairs, tries to like make moves on her. I guess I would say rape her. She gets away, goes downstairs, and Binks is taking the money out of the cash register, finds a gun in there. The guy's like, oh, it's not even loaded, and Binks like pulls the trigger, not knowing, shoots the dude in the shoulder. They go on the run. They're wanted by the police for whatever. Basically just a series of they're on the run from the police. They end up in this rich neighborhood with the kid. I think his name is Keith. Not in the movie, but his real name is Keith. And the only way you know this dude is so you know this dude two ways. Either you saw Jaws 2, he was in Jaws 2, or you saw Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, and he was the son in that.
And I've seen both. Oh, isn't that ain't the guy from Christine too?
Christine, look, come
Okay,
on.
sorry.
This is a horror movie.
Sorry, I forgot.
Nothing that I would ever see.
Yeah.
So I believe his name
Classic.
is Keith something. He was in Back to School. He was the son in Back to School, which is the early Robert Downey Jr. movie too. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. Paulie from Rocky is in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Also, great 80s movie.
Yeah.
Great 80s movie. So anyway, they're at his house. He's really into monsters and all this stuff. They don't know anybody's home. They're just trying to get something to eat, etc. They meet up with him, whatever. He's rich, but he's also the son of a senator. He convinces them to kidnap him, and hold him for ransom to get more attention so that they can get this money for the scooter, and it just, ensues that they're on the run, etc. But while she's there, they're out having a pool party, and Billie Jean watches a movie. Well, it is the actual Joan of Arc movie. So the guy kind of tells the story of Joan of Arc and how she was burned at the stake, but she commanded military forces in France as a man, but they didn't know. And then obviously when they found out, and this is not what is it? A fictional story. Joan of Arc was a real person. This is actually something that happened.
Right.
So Billie Jean kind of takes that. She cuts her hair into this like butchish.
Like the Joan of Arc deal, right?
No, Joan of Arc was more like close cut. She had this. Billie Jean had this little flip where she was still like freaking gorgeous. Another crush. Helen Slater, super crush, still beautiful to this day. Right. So yeah, they go on this. Billie Jean becomes this icon, this idol that every teenager worships, etc. She has this huge following. They do something similar to the what is it? I'm going to be embarrassed. It's like the
I've never seen this movie.
Harriet Tubman, like the Underground Railroad.
Okay.
So they do sort of like a thing about that, where she's being taken from place to place to place with all these teenagers that like adore her and worship her and they understand her cause. And it ends up that they end up saying that they'll replace the scooter, so they go back to the place where they started everything at, on the beach. Her brother dresses up as her and has a fake gun with the senator's kid, who the senator by then had ordered sharpshooters on the scene. They shoot the brother.
Oh wow!
In the shoulder. Won't kill him, but they shoot him in the shoulder. And it ends up with Billie Jean just making this huge speech in front of the dude. And the dude that owns the shop, once Billie Jean became like an outlaw and wanted, and she was really popular, he started making all these posters, frisbees, hats, shirts with Billie Jean on it. Was literally making money off this chick that he tried to rape, and his son destroyed the scooter. So everybody's buying all this merchandise because Billie Jean is like the popular thing and blah blah blah.
Right.
And Billie Jean makes this whole speech to him and basically outs the whole situation in front of everybody, because there's a huge crowd around his beach house or whatever, or his shop, and he gives her the money for the scooter, and she's like, "Now you're gonna give it to me now," and then he's like, "Just take it, whatever, blah blah blah." Right. She takes it, but she knees him in the nuts.
Right.
And he falls back, and there's like a tiki torch, and it sets all the straw that was there on fire, and basically the shop goes up in flames. But the great song Invincible by Pat Benatar starts playing.
Yeah, I do know the song.
And then the guy that they picked up, the senator's son, there's a poster of Billie Jean that's ripped. He picks it up and he puts it in the fire. And then the whole crowd just starts, whatever Billie Jean stuff they had on, the shirt, a hat, whatever, just start throwing it into the fire. And like, you know what? Now we feel like shit that we capitalize off this girl's pain and hurt and whatever. And it's, Billie Jean, I'll say this, and I will get some shit for this, I'm sure, but Billie Jean is one of the very, very few movies that can get a tear out of me. Not full blown crying, not bawling, but just the poignant part at the end and just how it ended in the journey. That's one of the movies that gets a tear out of me. So it goes on. If you can get a tear out of me, who doesn't cry ever.
Now, Pat Benatar seemed to be a staple in the 80s with being on a lot of different soundtrack songs, you know. Pat
Benatar, the Kenny Loggins.
Kenny Loggins, yeah, he was
Top Gun.
Yeah. Top Gun, Caddyshack.
So I'll tell you this. Yeah. So I played soccer at Goldie Beacon when my first year in college. I was the goalie on Goldie Beacon soccer team, and our warm-up song, or we would go into the dorm before we would go out and play, and the beginning song from Top Gun was kind of like our warm-up, go out, get hype type song. Right. You know, the whole like that thing, because it builds up to that, and then it just goes in, and it's like everything just comes, and it's like, so it has this if you're a music person, a crescendo. I played the cello. I played the baritone, so I am a music kid. I started playing music when I was 3 years old, so I'm going to use music terminology on our podcast. Crescendo.
I played records on a record player.
So, so funny story. Just about music. I'll go into this, and then you can get into your last move. So, my mom was a music teacher. Her sister was a music teacher.
Gotcha.
She learned the Suzuki method at Juilliard. So the Suzuki method is a method of teaching kids how to play music at a very, very early age.
Okay.
So she studied, she learned it. So I began playing an instrument at 3 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And now that I've had kids, I'm like, I don't know that my kids could have done that.
Right.
So I don't know how she did it. Obviously, I'm not a music teacher, but my mom was. But so the story is, my older brother played the violin and the piano. I started out on the violin and the piano. My very first recital, I think it was somewhere down on Concord Pike. My very first recital, they opened up the curtains, and then I'm standing there. I don't want to say I had a panic attack, but I did get so scared. Once they opened the curtain, I saw everybody there, that I literally just dropped the violin and it shattered all over the stage. I don't know if you know, but violins are super, super expensive. Like, super expensive. On a side note, my cousin Robbie McCluskey does make custom violas and violins in Bethesda, Maryland. So even though I've never met you, Robbie, shout out to McCluskey violins and violas. But so because of that, my mom said, well, I need to give him something he can't drop. So she made me play the cello, which you sit down, the cello goes between your legs, and you play the cello like this. So I became a cello player. Okay. I made all-state orchestra when I think I was in 9th or 10th grade. I was the second or third chair. I wasn't the first chair, but I was second or third chair cello in all-state orchestra. So I never made it sports-wise into any all-state anything, but I was all-state orchestra. So I do have that. And the funny thing is, I have that cello downstairs. Wow. The first cello, because it's a smaller version of a cello. Yeah. I have my baby cello downstairs, and then I have another cello that actually belonged to my next door neighbor. She basically taught everybody in the neighborhood. Yeah. So I have 2 cellos downstairs. They're probably out of tune, terrible, wouldn't play. Probably a little warped because they're old. Right. My brother's first violin, that's probably about that big, tiny. So when my mom died, she had that violin. He gave that to his daughter, or his daughter has, or something like that. But yeah, we have those originals, which was really awesome.
You know, what's funny is I've only ever known one person play the violin, and that is my nephew, who I'm not going to use his name out of respect for his parents, but his father, I know who I'm talking about, Kaiser Sose Jr. Shout out to you. I hope you're still playing the violin. I know that you had started on it. I don't know if you kept up with it, but I
lost art, man. They cut out so much music in schools. My mom was actually the strings teacher at Bancroft, Bayard, Shoe, Gauger, and Kirk, all at the same time. Wow. And so she would be at a different school each day. So, and then she was the conductor of all-state orchestra as well. My mom was in charge of. I remember one of the best memories I have of my mom actually is going to see the Philadelphia Orchestra as a elementary school kid. My mom had taken the all-state orchestra, who were all high school kids. I remember being on the bus, and I was super tired because I was a kid. It was late at night, and I wasn't asleep, or maybe I had just woken up. And I remember there was like high school girls saying, "Oh, he's so cute when he's asleep," and that made my day. I was like, "Oh!" But yeah, I remember going to all-state orchestra. One more mom story. So we were playing at Shoemadill for our I think it was our winter concert. And if anybody on my live was in orchestra with me, you guys will remember this. So my mom didn't use the conductor wand.
Okay.
She used her fingers to conduct.
Right.
My mom had extremely dry skin.
Okay.
So she's doing her thing. Boom, her finger hits the stand. Cracks her skin just cracks. She always had bad hands.
Right.
So she's doing this, and blood is going all over everybody's music in the middle of the concert.
Wow.
So that is something that I wish, like the cellos are. So the conductor sits here, and immediately to the right are the cellos. Mm. To the left are the violins, and then it goes, whatever. But right. So us cellos, we were on the right-hand side of it. So it was our right hand that hit. So all of our cello music was just getting, like, all this little blood splatter just flying. And nowadays, with, diseases and all that stuff, that everybody would freak out.
Oh,
there's this new damn coronavirus thing. Yeah. But back in the day, hey, we just kept playing. Like, dun, 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 like, hell with it. We're just going to keep playing.
Show must go on.
Yeah, so that's my mom orchestra rant. You got another movie? Or
I do have one more movie, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the next movie I want to talk about came out in 1988. Fun fact about it, there was a jazz musician in there named Branford Marsalis.
It was Tonight Show, right?
No, I don't know if Branford did the Tonight Show. I know his older brother, Wynton Marsalis, I think was a bigger jazz musician than him. But it's called School Days. It was Spike Lee's second movie. The first was She Gotta Have It. This movie was basically about black universities and a lot of the different things they were dealing with. A big issue in the movie was colorism. The two groups that kind of went against each other, which was the Gammas, and I forget the Larry Fishburne.
So I haven't seen it, but
okay. So
is this the movie that was in black and white?
No, She's Gotta Have It was in black and white. Yeah, School Days was in color.
But this is the movie. The movie School Days. Didn't that introduce the character Mars Blackman, or was that the other
that
one?
Was She's Gotta Have It.
Okay. So
Mars Blackman wasn't even in it, even though Spike Lee was in there as a character.
Yes, he's always in his own movies.
But colorism was a big thing. There was a fraternity called Gamma Phi Gamma, and then there was, I don't even think it was really...
Comment if you know the other...
I don't even think it was a real fraternity. I think Larry Fishburne just got guys together to go against the... And there's a famous scene where they're kind of stepping against each other, and Larry Fishburne...
Even back then.
Yeah, Larry Fishburne crew comes in with like these suit jackets on, and they do this little thing. When I say gamma, you say punk, gamma, punk, gamma, punk.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of my favorite
scenes.
What
was the university? Was it an actual university or was it fictional?
It was not a real university. Oh, my goodness.
So it was a fictional one.
Of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, you got me thinking on that one. But nonetheless, it dealt with a lot of issues with the black universities, but I love the fact they talked on the colorism issue because that's still a big problem today where somebody's light skin might think they're better than somebody darker better than light skin.
Even now they have all those memes like get you a dark skin brother or the light skin was this is how light skin dudes walk into the club, and it's a big stupid thing. Like I don't know. We're both pretty fair skinned, so I guess we would get lumped in with the light skin. But light skin has shit to do with your personality. You are who you are. That whole dark skin, like I've seen memes that are as fucked up as don't mess with a dark skinned dude, and it's the he's like taking money out of the girl's purse. Like just shit like that is just that perpetuates it, and it's. That's a black issue. That's a colored people. That's not white people making those things. Those are black people, like trying to make a differentiation between light skin and dark skin, which is fucking stupid.
Yeah, colorism shouldn't even exist. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. But one of the things I loved about it at the very end of it, Larry Fishburne, because Larry Fishburne was real big on we got to
And he
stop
was Larry
separating
then. He
ourselves.
wasn't
Yeah, he
Lawrence.
was Larry. He wasn't Lawrence. That's absolutely correct. And he runs around at the end, and it's morning time. It's like early in the morning. The university bells. He's telling everybody, "Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!" Of course, it had nothing to do with people sleeping. He's saying, "Wake up and realize we're one and the same."
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and I remember at what I think I was 10 years old when this movie came out. I knew exactly what he meant when he said that, and I thought that was at least Spike Lee movies. I would say Malcolm X is probably, but Malcolm wasn't in the '80s, so I didn't mention it. But to me, this was his best movie.
Malcolm X was 93,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah, this was his best movie at the time, I believe. And I thought that message at the end, it just like resonated with me real well.
Which is, it's not ironic, but it resonates today because now we have this whole woke culture where everybody is, you're woke and this woke. And my opinion on the whole woke thing is, yeah, it's okay, but the woke culture are the biggest, well, they tend to be like the biggest crybabies, the biggest, you can't say anything. Like, I think I mentioned earlier, book says Batman and Robin is the gay escapades. Now, that's going to set people off. That's going to have people like, oh, wow. Oh, you can't say, like, come on.
Well,
Take shit with a grain of salt. We have, going back to our original thing, this thing with Kobe Bryant. I played this for Mark when he first came, and there's a news anchor that says, Kobe fit in perfectly with the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, that's some woke shit that you comment on. Not these little insignificant little things and all that. Like, come on. There's got to be some context. There's got to be some.
I think the problem is, though, there's too many insignificant things happening to a point that it's almost something needs to be said about. Yeah, there are some things that you can be overly sensitive about. I agree with that.
And that's what it is. I think there are things that we need to point out in culture. I think when I think when people start getting into crying about transgender people using the bathroom and stuff like that.
Third member of our podcast, by the way.
I think that becomes a little bit much. Like, come on now. Like, incidents where the trans person is attacking your child or all that are so few and far between. What you have to worry about is the real damn pedophiles, not a transgender person. I think the woke culture is too judgmental. I think the woke culture, and that's stereotypically, they're just a little bit too judgmental. They're too snowflakey and all that stuff. And you have to learn to take things with a grain of salt. They're slip ups. Like Los Angeles niggers, not a slip up. That your ass need to be fired.
Yeah. Lakers and niggers.
Right. They don't even come. So that type of stuff is important. It's important to separate contextually the things that are being said, the intentions behind it, what your message is. Really important. So it's a good topic that we can probably discuss in the future. It goes along with the school days message, so we're barely touching on it right here. I'm a product of a mixed marriage. I have a white mom and black dad, and it was in the 70s where that was not accepted and cool. So I have a pretty unique perspective on that. But we can get into that another day. But yeah, this was fun as usual. Unfortunately, we have this tragedy out in LA precipitating this podcast, but talking about 80s movies and just our feelings and going back in our memories is certainly a good distraction from that. I want to reiterate, our thoughts and all that are with everybody that was involved in that. It is a big deal. It's one of those issues that hits home, whether you just have a daughter and you're a father, whether you're a basketball fan, just regardless. So that's my 2 cents. That's, where I'm leaving it
Yeah.
for the day. And we want you to like, we want you to comment, we want you to subscribe. We're trying to obviously take this podcast to where we can get it on iTunes, Spotify, all the major platforms. We love doing the live and seeing you guys. Even if you don't say a word on live, you just pop in and we see that you're watching. If you comment, even better. We're doing this weekly now. We're working on getting better camera equipment, which hopefully elevates us up to the next level. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe.
And you can elevate us to the next level. Make sure you're tuning in. Like he said, like and subscribe. Watch over and over. Comment.
Yeah, make sure you hit that like button, man. The like button is more important than you know. And we both understand this is an hour and a half sometimes. And we talk about all the time how we get lost down these rabbit holes and we go into these sometimes side stories like I went into tonight about my mom being a conductor and all that type of stuff. But we understand that maybe you don't watch the whole video. We would love it if you watch the whole video. We're entertained, but this is, cathartic for both of us. But hey, if you skip around, cool. But like the video at least, I think our first video is up to 118 views. We got about 45 on the next two. We want to get as many views and likes on these videos as possible. So please, please, please like and subscribe. And give us your feedback. Let us know what we're doing good, what we can work on. Let us know if you have ideas for us to sit here and talk about. I mean, we can come up with ideas, but it's better to get ideas from our fan base and talk about some issues that you guys want to hear about.
And understand, we're the hosts of this show, but this is your show. We're up here talking about things that we love, but we're doing this to share this with you. If you tune in and you hear about the Lost Boys movie or Rad or the history of Billie Jean or whatever it was called.
Legend of Billie
Jean. And you go and watch it and you enjoy, hey man, you know what? You were right. That was we love that.
Right.
So please, be as interactive as you can.
Especially if you've never seen one of these movies and then you go and you watch one of these movies and you're like, well, damn, I didn't see that. Because there's a lot of things, and we've talked about on different podcasts, that if we try to watch a cartoon that we watched as a kid, it doesn't hold up. Like, it's weird to watch it. But those movies, I think, they still hold up.
Yeah, they hold up.
Even the only ones I would say don't are the ones that...
with too much cheese.
No, like the graphics. So, like Jaws 4, for example, or Jaws 3, I'm sorry.
Oh, got you.
Special effects weren't what they were. Like Star Wars, for example, they remastered them, so you're going to get good FX graphics.
Star Wars was ahead of its time.
It was,
yeah.
but even so, they remastered them. They digitally, they remastered the sound, all that type of stuff. So, Star Wars is the exception, I would say, to that, but. Even your favorite movie, Scarface. So the scenes where they're using like the best example I would say is when Tony is doing the drug deal with the Colombians and he shoots the dude and dude runs out and he's like
yeah, falls over.
He's like doing a robotic type of thing as he's dying, like that type of thing. But it doesn't deter you from the movie, right? So if you've never seen one of these movies that we talk about or cartoons and you YouTube them, me and my 5-year-old daughter have been watching Tom and Jerry on YouTube, full episodes, and we bag up watching them. That shit translate over. It's held up. Right. And Tom and Jerry was like started in like the 40s and 50s, I believe. Right. It's held up. It's friggin' 2020 and it's held up.
Me and my son watched Lost Boys together and he liked it. So I mean, it's.
I've made my sons watch Rad. I like Rad enough that I've made my sons watch Rad. And I don't know if my boy Chuck Purnell, who moved into our neighborhood as a teenager and used to literally live next door to Matt Hoffman. So he had like taught us a whole bunch of like BMX tricks and whatever because he used to go over to Matt Hoffman's house and ride with Matt. But me and Chuck and Rich Lewandowski So the three of us will always talk about Rad. It's a movie we watched over and over, and I have a Rad Racing shirt from which they made in the movie to get the dude to qualify. He had to make a certain amount of money.
Oh, okay.
So they sold Rad Racing shirts. I have a Rad Racing shirt upstairs. I'm about 25 pounds away from fitting in it, but yeah, one of these days. So.
No, say.
See, this is why we keep Kennedy in the cage, because Kennedy distracts Mark over here.
Won't leave me alone. Anyway,
yeah, that's about it, man.
That's about it.
Yeah, great as always. We're gonna. I guess we haven't talked about this, but I want to go till about Thursday. Give everybody a chance to comment what our next topic should be. After Thursday, if we don't have a topic, obviously we'll come up with another one. We are avoiding politics and religion. I know some people.
That's for another podcast.
We can talk all day. Like if you want to know, if you want to get into a political debate with me or whatever, get on Facebook. I'll be more than happy to do that. But as far as a podcast, trying to keep it simple, trying to keep it to sports, comics, cartoons, movies, TV shows. I think 80s TV shows is a good topic. And that's about it. So appreciate you guys tuning in. We love all the support. We hope it continues. We're having a blast doing this. This is our little weekly tradition. And yeah, this is just something we love doing. And hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where we have more of an official podcast looking set here on the Gorilla Gang 3421 podcast. So appreciate you all. Like, subscribe, comment, tune in. And again, thanks for watching.
Peace.